is Adrienne from Always Home Yoga, welcoming you to season 3 of the Yoga Saved Me podcast. We'll continue to talk with yogis about why yoga is so important to them and offer meditation, yoga nidra, and movement practices. My wish for you is to be well.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we have our tissues.
We have our tissues.
Woo, and we've got the time, and I just can't believe it. I'm finally talking. Oh my God, with Donnie. I guess I don't know if I found you. Okay, because Daddy died. My daddy died in 2021, and your grief, right? One of
hmm
your specialties is grief, and I'm sure that's how I found you. And now see how things work because Mommy died at the end of December, and here we are finally
Mm,
together after all that time, right? So that's why I was like, I know I have my tissues, right? We were in a little pause because Donnie had to go get her tissue. So yeah, so thank you for being there for me before and now again, I'm
yeah.
officially an orphan. So you're helping through my orphanhood, or what's the term?
We all get there at some point, you know? It's like, when do we get there though? And so my heart's really with you.
I
It's,
appreciate that.
that's a lot
And
to
I was gonna
navigate.
say I was gonna say, and your gift is like you say, we all get there when. And your gift is like, and how do we deal with it part? So
Yeah.
here I am, not really completely, yeah, dealt with Daddy, but that's what led me into yoga teacher training. I had found yoga before through another tragedy. Should I call death tragedy? Depends on. Daddy died in 95, a good death at home. That wasn't tragic. I don't want to overplay my hand or whatever, but that it was devastating. That is true.
Yeah. I mean, death is, it can be beautiful, it can be, right, and it can still be absolutely devastating and painful for the people that are left.
And that's it. And that's it for me. And I was struggling to get off mute there. I was struggling to get off mute there, but that is it because the people that are left, and at the time it was my mom and my sister, and I literally saw my mom get dementia when they carried my dad out. Literally, something happened in her eyes. I could see it, not to sound cliche, but something like it clouded over something. And my mom was a PhD ethnomusicologist, 4 years younger than my dad. So 91 when he died, but was doing everything for my dad, right? So me and my sister and I, we retired my mom from like her household duties at 90, they've been together 70, whatever years.
And
But at
that's
that
what it
point,
is, though, is like when you are together for that long, your body, whether you want to admit it or not, relies on that other person. So the statistics are really like astounding when you look at the longevity of a partnership and then what happens when the first one dies and how quickly the second person in the partnership dies. We literally die from a broken heart. I
please expand on that because you say we depend. What did you say? Something that just blew my mind. Like we literally, like what happened to my mom? You nailed it. It was like she
Yeah.
was gone the minute he was gone. She was like, I
Well,
don't have any.
when we're with somebody for so long in our partnerships, our nervous systems grow to rely on that having that person around. And your nervous system is connected to everything. And so when I work with people with grief, I really like to remind them that while there's so many layers of grief, when it comes to what is happening in your body, it is a stress response. It is like the ultimate stress response. That's the physiological symptoms of grief. And so think about it. Like I think about this because I have in my family too, people that have been together. My grandparents were together for like 65 years. I'm with my partner now for 15 years. So this is something that I think about. But yeah, our nervous systems grow used to having that person next to us. And if it is a healthy and positive and fruitful relationship, I mean, that's a lot to have all of a sudden taken away and not there anymore.
And you know what? Sorry to just dump you in there, but
Oh,
can you please introduce yourself?
yeah.
And I know, and say how you can stand in this authority and what you do, Dani Frank. And I think she goes without uh, introduction, but I don't want to rob anyone who doesn't, who's this is the first introduction to you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Dani Frank, and I'm a therapeutic yoga teacher and career coach. I am entering my ninth year as a teacher and an entrepreneur. I've been practicing though for about 25 years. And Yeah, now I focus on helping individuals, yoga teachers, and wellness entrepreneurs learn to support themselves as they grow their business and also learn to redefine what that looks like because it doesn't look the same. The success isn't the same for every person. So, and part of that is working through grief. I'm a big believer that grief is drowning us in many different ways, and not processing our grief manifests in every single part of our life, whether that be business or personal relationships, how you market your business, how you show up in your classes. It impacts everything. So I really try to help people develop the toolkit to support themselves so that they can go after their dreams and what they want.
Okay. Whew. This is gonna mess up my 8 limbs because I feel like I'm cheating or stealing or something. Because this is like all for me. I'm getting like a free therapy, like a free coaching, a free therapy session. You're hitting on everything that and see, here's my thing. I've never really thought about you as a career coach, even though it clearly says that's what you do. A website,
So
um,
my background is in human resources. A lot of people would
oh,
never envision me as a human resources executive in corporate America, but that was my final job. I was a human resources business partner for a tech firm in Silicon Valley. That was my very last job in corporate America. And I've actually been coaching, helping people find their careers for 15 years. I just finally
okay,
figured
I
out
don't
how to
want to
marry
stop.
them.
Okay, I have to stop pulling faces, as they say, and be so shocked because I can imagine, you can do anything that you want to do. But you have told what in 9 years? You have totally, okay, we'll come to that. I don't want to say reinvented yourself or whatever. Okay, but that's what you do. Now, I remember one reason we were so excited to talk because I don't want to jump around, but I want to make sure why is yoga so important to you? Because yes, the name of the podcast is Yoga Save Me. Why did yoga say, like you said, yoga is so important to you? Why? What do you mean?
I have the life I have today because of yoga. 100% my yoga practice has led me to where I am. I think about that little girl, a 15-year-old girl who found this random yoga VHS at a sports authority, so like a sporting store. And it was a Rodney Yee VHS tape. And I was like, I need this. And I brought it home and I started practicing. That was the first time, and it didn't stick. That's the thing. A lot of teachers will say that they've gone through phases, and I've definitely have gone through phases where I'm practicing a lot and I'm not practicing. So 15, I found yoga, and I didn't really come back into it until it's about 20. And then I fell out of it again. And then 25, whoo, it stuck. And I've never left my mat for more than like 2 or 3 weeks now. And
Okay, really?
I say
I
mat, but I
mean,
also mean meditation, pranayama,
thank you.
mudra. I mean more than just asana for sure.
Exactly. And that's what when I said like the 8 limbs, like, people think yoga, and that's the goal, isn't it, to live yoga off the mat,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Kind of when we say the mat, that is that fair to say when we say on the mat, that's the asana. But we do breath work and meditation too. But if we think yoga off the mat, that's meditation, breath work, journaling, but also how we're living.
How we're living, the yamas, the niyamas, how are we treating other people? How are we treating ourselves? How are we treating the environment? What are we standing up for? What are we not speaking up about and letting it slide that's silently killing us inside?
Yeah, and that's timely for what's going on right now. It's always timely, but it seems right now, and generally in the beginning of a year anyway, people can go through all of these. What am I standing for? What am I doing? But okay, there is so much to talk about with you. So back to human resources, or maybe, you know what, I may want to skip the human resources because I want to go back to the grief because I'm going to be selfish. I want to use this as like my coaching session, my therapy session. Grief, as you say, and I never really thought about it that way, permeates every aspect of your life. Can you please talk about that? Because I know for me, people only think of grief when it's boom in your face, something happens. So talk about how it permeates every aspect if you don't
Yeah.
deal with it.
Well, I think the easiest way for me to explain this is to actually share a little bit about my journey there. So I lost my father when I was 16, and that to say that that was like a torpedo into my life is an understatement. I just turned 40, and now I can really zoom out and see how grief really touched every single decision that I made. It touched on, how I was showing up for school. I was in 11th grade when it happened. It just started 11th grade, and I actually stopped going to high school and started going to college at that time because I couldn't handle high school anymore, which sounds really, bizarre to say, oh, I couldn't handle high school, so I went to college. But it was a different challenge for me. So I can look back now and see how it impacted me there. I can look back and see how the unprocessed grief kept me closed off in relationships within my family, within, friends, with intimate and romantic relationships. It impacted how I showed up at work because grief, AKA stress, is always there in your body if you're not dealing with it. So I think one of the cruelest tricks society has ever played on us is that cliche that time heals all wounds, because time does not heal grief. Time compounds it. Time makes it worse. Time.
Okay. Thank you for acknowledging that because and that's and have you said that yourself? When did you stop saying that or thinking that or believing it?
um
I still
prob-
say it or think it.
Probably about
Thank you
10
for
years
freeing me.
ago. 10 years ago, probably. Yeah,
How and why?
I just sat there and I was like, okay, so time heals all wounds, and how come I still feel horrible? I just kind of saw the lie in it. And not to say that it immediately removed all of that programming, because it definitely didn't. But yeah, I could just like, it's one of those things that once you know it and you see it, you can't unsee it.
Because you know how I've talked myself out of that. We're like, well, maybe it's not enough time, and because I'm like, daddy's only been gone since 2021. And then I meet people, they're like, my dad's been dead for 20 years and it feels like
Yeah.
yesterday. And I'm thinking, is that how it's going to be for me? Down there, I'm like, I don't want it to be like that.
Well, in a way it is, and in a way it isn't, because this is where the time thing is a lie, and the actual action and the healing and the giving yourself the tools and the techniques and the practices is the key. Because we need to move from that space. We need to get out of that moment of what society thinks it is, what it should look like, and then we move past that. We will always be able to fall back into it. We can always, I can bring myself right back to that moment, that because for me, I found out my dad died through a phone call. So I can imagine that phone ringing. I can see myself walking over to the phone. Here I am, 24 years. It'll be 24 years this year So that's the biggest lie, is that time does heal it, because it doesn't. It's the practices. It's the releasing of the stress. It's the healing your nervous system. It's healing the trauma, because that's what grief becomes when we don't deal with it. It becomes trauma. It becomes something that's
I think
stuck.
it becomes like big T trauma. Like I don't
You
believe in big T, little T, or whatever, but if there
yeah.
was a big T, this would be a big
Oh,
T, right?
absolutely. Like they say the most stressful things that we navigate in life are death, a new job, moving, and having a child. Those are the four biggest stressors
Please
as
tell number
humans.
5 is divorce.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
I can tick, 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 tick. I think maybe what okay, I haven't had kids of my own. I do have, I have children that in my life that I love and a goddaughter that I adore, but I have not born children. As a woman, I can't imagine that. That is life altering. Your bones are literally moving. I saw something. Okay, we're going off a little bit. I saw because shout outs to all the moms. Because yeah, I just lost my mom December 28th. I saw something on some, I want to say reputable program where they were doing some archaeological dig and they could say, oh, I could tell this is a woman. Um, and she's had 3 children or something because it was almost like reading the rings of a tree where you could tell how old it is. Because and she had them vaginally because when that happens, your pelvis bones literally come apart. You know
Mhm.
this. They come apart. That's why it hurts so freaking much. Your body is, Transformers, right? Your body is coming apart so that and it comes back. So it's like they can tell, oh yeah, she's had children. And I was like, once I saw that on the whatever program that was, I thought, oh my God, no wonder it hurts. And women are screaming like,
And that's just the physiological, because like let's like have a moment for what you can't see. I'm also child free, and that is by choice, but I, deeply respect people, that women that choose to go that route in a mindful, compassionate, raising a great human sort of way. I'm all for it. But yeah, like let's talk about like the mental, what happens to your nervous system, what happens to your brain. It's another thing that impacts literally every single system. I think one of my favorite quotes, and I think what hits it for me, and like one of the big reasons why I personally couldn't have children, is I heard someone say that it's like having your heart walk around outside of your body. And it's like, oh, oh.
I believe that. And yeah, I'm not a biological mother by choice. And as you say, respect. And I can see how my mother lived that. She lived that. Like, yeah. Because she used to always say, my heart, you're my heart. She used to call it your heart. It is your heart walking around outside of your body. As you say, physiologically, mentally. But then yeah, having responsibility for another human in that capacity.
I can take care of I can barely take care of myself.
Well, I
I'm
was gonna say
just
I'm not
getting
good with
there.
plants. I was gonna say I'm not good with plants, but I'm changing that talk, right? That we have to have to ourselves. That self-love. I am a plant. I'm a great plant mom. What were you gonna say, Danny? I have to
I was
change that.
gonna
I'm a
say
great plant mom.
yeah, you're a great plant mom, and you're learning new skills, and you're developing new tools to care for another living thing. It takes time.
It takes time. So you were, it takes time. See, okay, because I said I would have said to myself, oh well, I need more time. But you said, you know what, I see through the lie, I can't unsee it. Then how did you know what to do then when you say, well, time
I
this isn't working?
I didn't know what to do. And I, at this point, I think this was around when I was leaving my career. My grandfather, who was 94 when he passed, he passed away the fall before I left my career. And I got to be there when he took his last breath. And it was a really, really powerful moment to be there for. And I think when you witness those something like that, it just changes everything. And so I went back. I think it happened in November, and then I left my job in December. Like it was like that quick. And
It was like an
then
epiphany. They call that kind of like an epiphany, right?
definitely an epiphany, and I was so burnt out. I had an ulcer, I had migraines, my health was failing, like, I really needed to get out, and so that was, finding yoga again. I dove right in, and I was, committed to a 6 AM practice, and that's when I heard the call, "Go be a teacher." And it was when I started to follow that path that I started to try to find people working with grief. And then I did find a few people, but I could never really find exactly what I was looking for. And so it was multiple years later that I finally created what I was looking for in my Yoga for Grief course. And so it's been, like I said, I made that a realization, but it took a while for the deprogramming. So I would say when I finally started to become a teacher and go on that path and dive back into philosophy, that I was like, oh, okay. And Buddhism really has helped me. There's a book that, really changed everything for me called Grieving Mindfully. And it's a short little book. I think the author is
I'm looking in my
Dr.
Libby app now, the
Dr.
library Libby app. I'll look there
Mhm.
first.
Dr. Kumar, I believe is his name, and, he's an oncologist in Florida who works with end-stage cancer patients, and so he wrote this book, to help his patients, but man, is it one of the most helpful things I've ever read. So I would say that once I found that book, that's when I was really on my way to understanding that time doesn't heal, and that I needed to work on the practices.
And you used some powerful language when you said once you got deprogrammed. Now that triggered me. And I don't want to say triggered me in a bad way or whatever, but it maybe triggered me to this because that's like serious deprogram. But you're right, it's ingrained in our culture. And it reminded me, have you read or are you familiar with the Grief Recovery Handbook?
Yes, it's
I'm not sure
fantastic.
where, yeah, I was going to say, I haven't gotten through it because with Daddy, still hadn't gotten through it. But to the part where they have you do exercise what you believe, identify beliefs, like you just said, time heals all wounds. But I had forgotten that until you saw it again and had fallen back into that
It hap
belief.
Yeah, it definitely happens, like, and I think it's really powerful that you're sharing that because this highlights 100% how this isn't a linear path. How, like, once you quote, unquote, "conquer something," it's done and you can move on. No, 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 no. I This is something I used to talk about with my therapist because I used to feel like I was in a tornado, a cyclone, and I was just, like, spinning around and around, and I would see the same things, but I was coming I was I for me, the healing was moving up and moving out of it, and then my therapist offered a reframe. I live here in the Seattle area in the Pacific Northwest, and there's, the Cascade Mountains, they're majestic, and she said, "What if you're walking up a mountain instead of being in a tornado?"
Oh,
Right?
wow. Because, I was just getting into that cyclone, that tornado imaging, because I usually think of it like a hamster wheel. But I
Yeah,
was like, when you say like that, I was like, that to me is more accurate because it's more disorienting. But when
definitely.
you then shift it to the mountain, it's something you can conquer, right?
Right? It's like a switchback going up the mountain. You're gonna see the same things over and over and over again, right? And that's, I think, similar to healing. You're going to come into the same themes over and over and over again until you deprogram or you completely shift your mind and, like, you're not thinking like that anymore. And those things take time. Coming back to the T word, they take time, but it also takes a lot of effort.
Okay, effort, a word a lot of people don't like. So
Yeah,
describe effort, because effort doesn't have to be insurmountable, right?
right.
So what do you
Absolutely.
mean effort? Because we want people to get this done. What does effort mean?
Yeah, so effort means, and this again, it's not as easy as people think because people think, "Oh, I just do it, like check a box or something like that." And it's not like that. Effort really is about meeting yourself where you are when you're meeting yourself. So today I feel this way and that I have this much energy. And, there's part of me that's saying, I don't want to do that. What is that voice? Is it me saying, this is hard? Or is it, my nervous system saying, no, girl, you need a break? So effort really is a fluid process, I believe, because you are always meeting yourself where you are. I think a lot of people think effort is pushing through when you maybe need a break. Yes, you push through the discomfort, but there's a difference between discomfort and, your nervous system throwing up signals that you're going a little too far.
Absolutely. So the first step is being in tune, or like having that conversation with yourself.
Yeah, being able to. And that
I was
that
going
a
to say,
lot of
how do you get there? Exactly.
a lot of people, they can't even get to that point. They can't start there. And it starts with mindfulness practice, which again is not what a lot of people think. I was just having this conversation in a yoga subreddit because somebody was talking about I know. Yeah. But I try to go in there and fight the good fight at least once or twice a week. But somebody was in there posting about how they're not meditating correctly because their mind's always chattering. And it was really beautiful because a lot of teachers jumped in and said, well, hey, that's the practice. That's what people don't want to hear. Is that
Exactly. That's
that's
what
the
the mind
practice.
does. That's the practice. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are monks that have been meditating for decades that will say the same thing, that will say, "Yeah, my thoughts are coming," and it's not attaching to your thoughts. That's the mindfulness. It's just letting it
That's the
come and
key.
letting it go.
Exactly. That's the
Yeah.
key. That's the
And so
mind doing what it's supposed to do. I tell students in class, congratulate yourself, your mind's working.
yeah.
Now, you know what I mean? Let it go like clouds or whatever. But yeah. So good for you for being on Reddit. And you know what? I should not be surprised that you're on Reddit because you're going to be there, like you say, to fight the good fight. Are people there really looking for help? Or is it like teachers forum?
So there's a couple different forums. There is a yoga teachers forum, which is, just as hard to be in as the yoga because it's a lot of, Western American teachers that may still be rooted in their white supremacy and may not have done any work on decolonizing their practice or learning from yoga's roots instead of just their
Girl, I know, Ray. But here's the thing, see, because I want to guide people. You have a lot of free resources.
yes.
Give me 1 second to clear my throat. Because because this is important. Now, of course, people can as you say, this is a business, you make a living. Of course, people can be clients with you, but I want people to understand that you have a lot of free resources. And I didn't want to necessarily send people to Reddit where you are. Reddit, no, I'd rather send them to, so just where we are right now, like, what resources do you have to help people in this step one, as you say, even be able to, step one, as you say, realize, or, get to the point where they can realize, practice mindfulness. I know what I have to offer. I'm going to say what I have, but I want to say what you have because you have great stuff. I look at your stuff and I'm like, she's where I want to be. Your stuff is great and beautifully presented. So
Oh,
let's
thank
start
you
with
so
your
much.
stuff. No, it's great. You're welcome.
Y
Thanks for putting it out there. So you have a
yeah.
lot of free stuff. Tell people and give us the website again so they run
So
to get it.
my website is SOLE, journeywellness.com. And I'll tell you, I'm in the process of developing a library. So people will have all of the resources in one location that they can access. And there definitely 100% will be a free component to that because I'm a big believer. I'm not gatekeeping this. Yes, it is a business, but I also realize that what I am sharing and teaching, it can't be gatekept. It has to be out there. So, just wanted to say that I give away a free resource almost every single week in my newsletter. So if you want to, let's see, the one that I just sent out this week was a set of affirmation cards that are for neurodiverse or highly sensitive folks that own their own business. The week or the month before, I sent out a guide. It's your mindful compassion 101, which is a great place to start. And I did send that out last month. But if you join my email list or you reach out to me and you're like, hey, Dani, I want that, let me know. I'll send it to you. Um, so I have an imposter syndrome guide that I am really excited to be revamping, but that is still up there. And it's an imposter syndrome course, mini course. So I've got like 5 days of practices where we're working through each one of the archetypes of the imposter syndrome. And then there's a little book to go through. I love making workbooks. So like if you sign up for a meditation course or a workshop with me, you're probably going to get a workbook. But yeah,
Cha-ching, yeah.
joining my email list is the best way to get those free resources and like I said delivered right to you.
Yeah, I
I
went to my phone to look to see what I have with your thing. I'm notoriously bad for, you know what? I save all the stuff to read up. I'm looking, I have to see Finding Joy in Unexpected. This was how you were closing out the year. Finding Joy in Unexpected Places, a personal story, Soul Journey Wellness. So people, when they sign up, people can expect weekly, how regular? Weekly
yeah, I'm sending
with
out emails with something for you every week, whether it's a video, whether it's a workbook or affirmation cards, or inviting you to a free practice. Once a month, I host a free yoga nidra, and this is a 45-minute practice and discussion. And so this month is about sankalpa. It's about setting or hearing your sankalpa.
Girl, okay, I gotta sign up because I love yoga nidra. Yoga, when I first discovered yoga, it was after a four-story fall. I didn't want to get raped for the third time in my life. So I went out a window. It was on the outskirts of, not on the outskirts of Paris, outside of Paris. One, I couldn't get out if I didn't go through the window. So my back was like between the chiropractor and the yoga. I could walk again. But my first yoga class I went to, I remember leaving there thinking, oh, I love the end. And it was about 20 minutes, I think. When I took yoga teacher training, I found out it was yoga nidra. She had given us like a short version of yoga nidra, but I was receptive to it immediately, my first time.
Yeah.
Out of body experience, the whole thing, like, oh, don't bring me back in the room. I don't want to come back, when she's calling you. Love, love, love it. So if you got a free 45-minute yoga nidra, you say that's regular every month?
Every month, and it's a discussion and a practice. So the practice is about 20-25 minutes, but we also have space to, I'm going to talk about the topic at the beginning and at the end, afterwards, if anybody has anything they want to share, I do leave the space. But then I also really respect, this is how I know like my yoga nidras are deep. People usually can't talk
I'm
afterwards.
asleep. Okay, I was gonna say, well, I'm usually asleep. That's what I say. Okay, when that woman, and the only reason she could get me back is we're in the room. If I was doing that online, you wouldn't be able to get me back in the room. I found
Yeah.
that out because I've woken up to, but it's just because she's walking around. She's in, she brought me back. So a yoga nidra practice, I'm always curious what it's like. I lead them, but I always wonder what part do I get to where I'm gone, and I love it, and I'm in that happy space, and I need it because I need the rest. I don't get enough rest. I use yoga nidra for rest, and it's guaranteed rest for me.
It absolutely is really, really restorative. I think I can't remember if it was NASA or I can't remember the entity that did the research, but
I know the
they
Veterans Administration for sure.
yes, it was it may have been the VA that studied the equivalent of yoga nidra to sleep. And I mean, it was like 45 minutes equals like 2 hours or something, like 4 hours.
Well, I was going to say I heard studies that said it equivalent to four, but I don't know how much of the yoga nidra it was because Richard Miller had mentions that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, that's I mean, Richard Miller, who, founded iRest, who really, uh, changed the name of Yoga Nidra because the military didn't want it to be called that, and so he said, "Oh, okay, I'll call it iRest," and they were like, okay, good. So like, yeah, they've been doing this for decades in helping veterans heal post-traumatic stress. Richard
Right.
Miller, I personally have used his book and his PTSD protocol. I've recorded the nidras for myself, and it helped me immensely.
Yeah, I volunteer with Veterans Yoga Project. My father was a veteran, and I'm married to a veteran. And Richard Miller, thank God for him. Like you say, he made it accessible to the military because the science was there, and they did years and years and years and years more of the research. And you're so wonderful. That's one thing I learned in my Veterans Yoga Project, mindful resilience training. We don't say PTS. You left off the disorder part, or when we even write it down, the D's in parentheses, because they don't consider it it's not a disorder, it's the proper response to what
Yeah.
happened. Yeah.
100%, and thank you for sharing that. I'll definitely, I like that, and I think I'll drop the D. Um
No, you dropped the D. That's what I'm saying. You
Oh,
totally just now,
yeah,
without you totally acknowledge that, even maybe without
yeah,
even knowing it. You said PTS, you did not say the D.
that's
So
so
that's what I was giving you your props.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Because that's totally, I don't know if you even, if that's something Richard Miller even does, but I remember from my Rifle Resilience training with Veterans Yoga Project, if we have to write it down, we put the D in parentheses because people so used to seeing the four, they may not know what you mean. But just as you did when you speak it, we don't
Yeah,
mention it. See, you didn't even know. You didn't
I
even realize.
I just knew in my soul. Yeah, because it's not a disorder. This is, like, a legit response to stress. I grew up with complex PTS, and that's very it's like a hydra, the beast that has many heads, like, that's what it is. And so I I know for me, it's a normal response to what I was exposed to,
Oh,
and I
for
hope more
sure.
people can hold that because I know that that's hard to get to that point, but yeah,
It
you're tr
is hard. And like I said, when I went out that four-story window, I didn't realize I had PTS. I just knew my back was
yeah,
effed, right? And between I think the chiropractor said do yoga. And I was like, thank goodness. And I was in the DC area and they are still there. It's the St. Mark's Yoga Center. It is connected to St. Mark's Episcopal Church, but they have a separate center. And when I went, this is 1996. Yes, I'm old. Um, that I think, did I pay $35 for what did I pay for unlimited classes for a month? I mean, it was, what do they call it? See, in this politically charged climate, I'm afraid to even say, did they call it democratic prices? They had nothing to do with politics, but you know what I mean? It was accessible. It was
yeah,
basically to keep the lights on, because I guess the church subleased them a room or something. But $35 for unlimited yoga for a month on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. in
that's insane.
1996 was unheard of. I know
Yeah.
it would be unheard. It was unheard, but today's terms, it would be free because it was unheard of. Now, once I realized all those years later, okay, 96, I found them. Then in 2021, when I was doing the yoga training, and I was like, oh my God, it's Yoga Nidra. And it was that people, I forced myself to remember who were those, where was I? And I remembered it was St. Mark's. And I cannot remember the name of my teacher, but I said, I'll remember if I see her. Of course, her picture wasn't up there. But did you have that one first yoga experience or teacher? Because you said when you were 20 something, you said, okay, I stuck. You've never been away from yoga. Was it what you got from it or the teacher, a combination? For me, it was a combination. It was the Nidra, and that teacher was wonderful. I stuck with her for a long time.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a combo. That's such a good question. I'm, like, really thinking. It was definitely a combo, because I've found out this last year that I'm autistic, and I can see where the practices were helping me, and I didn't even realize it. Why? And so that was a big part of me keeping up and keeping going. I also did, the teachers, and the studio isn't even around anymore. That makes me really sad. AC Power Yoga in San Antonio, Texas. And it was rooted in Baptiste yoga, so very vigorous, but then they offered yin and other practices that were much more slow and calming. But yeah, they had such incredible teachers at that studio, and I know that that environment is the reason I became a teacher. Um, yeah, so I don't know if it was one specific as much as the environment. And it's funny because I say like my first teacher was Rodney Yee, and I still do his classes. He's still teaching. His classes are available on Yoga International. And I mean, I just did a really beautiful 60-minute practice earlier this week with him. So I think physical yoga, that's one of the biggest teachers. And Ram Dass, I don't think I'd be here if I had never had the opportunity to learn from him.
What was that like, and how did you get that opportunity?
Randomly. It was just randomly.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like, it changed everything. You know, I think Ram Dass's teachings are so rooted in love and learning to love yourself and learning to show up for each other. And yeah, that just changed everything for me. I still use one of his meditations. It's so beautiful. The musician East Forest made an album with him before he passed, and it's just East's beautiful music set to Ram Dass's teachings. And so one of the teachings in that
Mm.
album, it's called Dark Thoughts. This is one of the most powerful teachings that I've ever received. And when they turned it into this music, I literally stopped. Like I couldn't breathe. It took everything out of me because the whole premise is like we love our dark thoughts. We love them. That's our that's our job. It's not to sit in them or attach to them. It's to love them. And I that saved my life, that teaching right there.
Okay, say it again and help us unpack that a little bit.
The teaching is to love your dark thoughts. We have our dark thoughts. They come in, they can take over. You know, as someone I've lived with chronic depression probably my whole life. Um, and so even if you're trying, they can still take over. And his teaching offers you the perspective that we are the soul, the observer is our soul. And that's part of us loves everything, not everybody, but everything. It loves every single thing. And so it takes some time to sit with that, to say, okay,
Because it's the observer, that's his job to observe and love
yeah, not
everything.
to
You said not to love. No, what did you say? I'm sorry.
everyone,
Not
not
everyone. Thank you.
everyone, but
See, you're
everything.
teaching me, but everything is it okay?
Oh, that's from Ram Dass that I'm sharing that knowledge for sure.
Well, that's
Um,
how it is when you have that lineage. As the
yeah,
teacher, you're teaching me. That's your lineage. Wow. So, as the observer, your job is to observe and love everything, not everyone. You observe everyone.
everything. Yeah.
You observe everything, but you can't love. Why can't we love everyone, but we can love everything?
I think we can, you know, I think it's just the part of the teaching is to love the thing, love everything, because
That's a
every
bigger thing.
Mhm.
Everyone is limited. Everything is all inclusive,
That's the and he goes into the
expansive.
teaching, and I think right afterwards he says like something like the loves the animals and the fish and the stars and the water. And all of those things, you know, the stars and the water, that's what a human is made out of pretty much. So it's something that the more I sit with it, you know, here I am with this meditation for over a decade now, probably. But the more I sit with it, I still find something. because your thoughts change, your thoughts evolve. And so your dark thoughts, they can not be kind, but they're still teaching you something. If you can turn down that volume of, maybe the power it has completely over you and start to ask it, so why? Why? That's one of the easiest questions. Why? You might not get an answer, but if you keep asking, you're going to find one. It's going back to another mindfulness practice.
Mm. Okay, so because wow. So I feel like I have a strong mindfulness practice. I'm sure you do too. What does yours look like, or how important, I should say? This is one of the things I'm working on, and I've had fluctuations, consistency, right? Everything's a practice. It's a mindfulness practice. What do you feel is the power of a morning routine? Do you have one? And if so, what is yours?
Ooh, morning routine is everything. Although I just shared a meme this week that was like, "What's the longest part of your morning routine?" And then the bottom was like, "Deciding to get up." 'Cause that
That
is
was
that
me.
yeah, well, it's also an autistic reality too. Like there's when we live with autism, we sometimes can have some delay in like starting something and like getting that next thing started. And so like that transition time is really difficult. So for me, the morning routine is non-negotiable because if I don't do it, my morning doesn't really start. So the first thing I do, well, I should zoom out because I'm a big believer of sleep hygiene, and sleep hygiene is absolutely paramount to having a successful morning routine.
Okay. What is sleep hygiene?
Okay, sleep hygiene is taking care of your environment and yourself to optimize your sleep. So that's, for me, that means I turn the color off of my phone at 7, and I'm not going to look at my phone after 8. And I have my routine when I go upstairs and I brush my teeth, I wash my face, I do my skincare. Then I'll do a little stretching and then I'll lay down in bed and I have my binaural beats playing. Now I've kind of brainwashed myself and I've been using the same binaural beats track for about 3 or 4 years now. And so within about 20 minutes of turning it on, I'm ready to go to bed now. It's been a long journey, but one of the best things I've ever done.
Well, you got a lot going on in there. I heard a lot of Ayurveda as far as
Mhm.
right, the structure and
Yeah.
having, my goodness. Are you that structured with this is the time to get up during this time frame, you're most productive according to Ayurveda? You familiar with
Yeah.
that?
I do follow.
Does that
I
work for
use
you?
it works for me, and I also go so far to track my menstrual cycle with regards to where I'm at because different phases impact us differently. And so, I can look at if I'm having a bad day and I'm like a really short patience and like aggravated to no end, would bet money to look at my app and say I'm on day 18 or 19.
Now, you know what? I have survived menopause, and I don't even know if that app was out when I was still in childbearing age, but I could have used it. I used to have horrible periods. They were extremely painful. I would be
Mhm.
nauseous. I would lose a day. I could lose a day. I would need at least 800 milligram ibuprofen for the pain. If you didn't get it in
Yep.
before the nausea came, that's it, because you couldn't keep it down. You lose a weekend. I used to joke, I can never be president of the
Yeah,
United States.
I lose a week every month, and I had to learn why and how, that was happening. I don't really know all the how, but I just know when now. Um, so that has been really impactful for me, and it helps me tap into compassion because if I'm having a rough time, I can be like, "Oh, It's my hormones. I don't make it personal. I don't attack myself because I can't control my hormones. So yeah, sleep hygiene is number one crucial, I think, to having a successful morning routine. So I have a um, light alarm clock. So it simulates the sunlight. So that's a really I can't handle loud alarms. Like that will ruin my day before it
It's
even starts.
jarring, isn't it? Yeah.
Jarring. It's too jarring for me.
Yeah.
So, I love this light because it mimics a sunrise. So even say I set my like today, I set my alarm at for 6:45. It's already starting to get light in my room at like 6:30. And then at 6:45 to signal that it's time to get up, birds start chirping. It's so lovely. It's so nice. So that's how I get to wake up most days. And then out of sheer habit and like really forcing myself, the first thing I say is thank you for this day. And I do that. It does help me honor and remember a really, really good friend of mine who has since passed within the last few years. She was a beautiful teacher, a beautiful just soul in this world. And that's something that I learned from her is saying that first thing in the morning. Um, miss her, Janelle, miss her every day. So
Janelle, beautiful
Janelle,
soul. Thank you for that.
yeah,
So before you're out of bed, even, thank you for
yeah.
this day.
Thank you for this day. That's the first thing I say when I open my eyes. Thank you for this day. Then, even if the light's on, I try to open my window or open the curtain so I can get some light in. And I make sure that I get like 10 minutes of light before I start to do anything or use any sort of anything else, whether that's like even a toothbrush. I make sure I get that 10 minutes of light. And in that 10 minutes, I spend the time reflecting real quick on how's my mind? Okay. How's my body feel? How's my heart feel? How does my soul feel today?
Is it like a
And if
pies check-in? I was taught a pies in my training. Pies, what is it? Physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual check-in. So it's
yeah,
pretty
it
much a pies.
sounds
Can we make an
very similar.
acronym out of yours? What was yours again? Because I like yours too. You check in
I
with your body. No, you
with
said
my
you check in with your body. So that's the physical for the pies, the P.
the
You check in
mind
mind. That would
with
be
my
the
mind,
intellectual. Okay. Body,
my
mind,
heart
BM, heart, BMH. So far we're like BMH, BMH.
and soul.
BMHS. No, because people like acronyms, pies,
Mhm.
BMHS, if it helps you remember. Um, yeah, so that's a daily thing you do along with. So, how much time are we talking about so far? Your
Uh,
alarm's off at 6:45. The light's coming in. So you're coming in, you're getting up gently.
yeah,
You you maybe lay up, you say thank you for today. Then you make sure you have some natural sunlight. That's 10 minutes. So this is really only about 10 minutes. You're 10. I don't want people to feel like, oh my God, I got to wake up an hour earlier. This is a
no,
nice, gentle way. And so far, we're like 10 minutes of your morning, people. This is totally doable. So you got the sunlight, or this doesn't have to be your morning routine, whoever may hear this, but a morning routine is worth
yes.
at least 10 minutes. So we're up to 10 minutes. And then what else? I want more.
From there, I don't use medication for my ADHD and autism. I really work holistically through diet and exercise and environment. And so, one of the best things you can do for your brain if you are neurodivergent is when you wake up and you brush your teeth with your opposite hand and stand on one foot for every. So, I have a Sonicare and it beeps every 30 seconds to go to a different part of your mouth. So, every 30 seconds, I just switch what foot I'm standing on. And you know what? It's hard. There are some days like I am falling over because I'm doing this first thing in the morning. It's my
I
brain's
had a
not
yoga
firing yet.
teacher. Yeah, so even if you are neurodivergent, I had a yoga teacher because she for wanted to make sure that a lot of in this class that she taught, I took over on Fridays a Better Yoga Project. It was a lot of golfers or older vets, And so she's like, balance, balance. She used to give us special exercise for the lungs in the winter, keep those lungs clear. Don't want anybody get pneumonia. But yeah, she would say, she didn't say use the opposite hand, but she would say, brush your teeth on one foot for your balance. So you do that for balance. What is the reason you do that?
I do that because it helps get both hemispheres of your brain firing. And so that's one of the things that can happen with an autistic or ADHD brain. There's really going to be one side that's like, we all think we all have one side that's working more, but there's more imbalance between the sides. So using your non dominant hand, that is forcing you to have to work through different neural pathways that you would normally be automatically doing with your dominant hand. So just another layer of trying to get my
No,
brain to work.
well, listen, and I'm thinking, is that going to be the layer I add on that's going to keep me from getting dementia or whatever? Right?
Yeah, I mean, what harm does it
Why not?
do to you? Nothing.
Exactly. What's the negative? So just so I know I'm doing it right, I'm left-handed, so I brush my teeth with my right hand, and then every 30 seconds I would change feet, but
Mhm.
keep the right hand, keep the non-dominant hand.
Keep the
Okay.
non-dominant hand.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's a big part. Wash my face, and love rebounding. So jumping on the trampoline. I've got a little trampoline. This is one of the most I do it for 5 minutes in the morning. So what are we at? 20 minutes now, probably?
Well, wait a minute, because the toothbrush, because I have a sonic hair too. But you know what? The new ones, mine doesn't beep, but that is a 2 minute brush. So we're
Mhm.
10 minutes of sunlight or natural light, two
Yep.
minutes to brush. That's 12 minutes. And then, so we're up to 12 minutes pretty
And I'm
much.
given 3 minutes to wash your face. I like to
Okay,
splash
that's
my face
right.
with
You
cold
know what?
water.
Now are you like a product girl? Like, is this like an indulgence for you? Or like, because why not? You got to wash your face. So do you make this part of the luxury, or are you more functional? Like, I just need to get my face washed.
It depends. Some days I am like, "Oh, I just gotta do this." I use an app called Finch to, like, help me with all of my self-care, where I literally have to click something that says I brushed my teeth and I flossed my teeth and I washed my face. So, some days when, like, it's an absolute struggle, it's bare minimum. I'm washing my face, I'm throwing on some sunscreen. That's a non-negotiable for me. And that'll be it. And then other days it's like, oh, I'm feeling a little more in my body and calm down. So yeah, let's, Guia Sha before I go and jump on the trampoline. And Guia Sha, for those that aren't familiar, it's a Chinese lymphatic drainage way way of taking care of your face and your body. Actually, it's really
I
wonderful.
could say you have time when you're doing that, unless you
Yeah,
really know what you're doing and can do it more quickly. But that sounds wonderful. That's a luxurious morning. And I think you made an excellent point. Every morning doesn't have to be the
I
same
know.
with your routine, but every morning needs to have structure to set
Yes.
yourself up for success.
Yeah,
So
so, like, bare bones, I'm doing the stuff laying in my bed, and I'm brushing my teeth, and I'm washing my face, bare bones, right? It's a good day, I'm gonna do a little more skincare before I leave my room, and then going downstairs and bouncing on the trampoline for 5 minutes. I mean, the benefits of that are absolutely astounding for everybody. For women, we have an extra element of it's helping our pelvic floor. And, as we get older, yeah, I took most of last year off because they told me that I would need a hysterectomy, but I decided to do pelvic floor physical therapy instead, and it took a lot longer, but
but you saved it.
yeah, I didn't have to have
Saved
the
your
hysterectomy. So bouncing on the rebounder also helps strengthen your pelvic floor, which I mean, I could feel a
daggone it,
difference.
Danny. Just when I thought I had bought my last whatever, let's say gadget, tool, whatever, just when but you know what? I can imagine just the joy that it
Yes.
brings.
It's so joyful, and it's like, you don't have to bounce up and down. Your feet don't even have to leave the trampoline in order for you to get the benefit, and it's helping you physiologically, and it's also helping you mentally immensely. Just having and doing it bare feet is very important so that you have that full connection.
Okay, are you familiar with those vibrating
Yes.
machines you can stand on? Are you getting similar benefits with the rebounder?
Yeah, they're similar. They are very similar, 100%. It's just a different modality. What do you have space for in your home? What do you
Well, and
like to do?
affordability, because you can't afford
Affordability.
those.
They can be
They have them at the
pricey.
gym. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
like the
have a
gym.
I have a company though that I've gotten a few tools from. It's called Life Pro. And they're pretty reasonable. So, like, I got a sauna bag, an infrared heat
Oh my
sauna
God,
bag.
Danny, I have one. I have one. Okay, wait a second. And I had it for about 2 years. Just tried it the other day. Could not believe I said, what have I been
Mm.
waiting? What have I been missing? It's on top of my yoga mat in my bedroom upstairs. I have it. Now I just fold it and move it over. I try to get in it as often as possible. You have the cotton insert. The company I bought mine for, I'm not going to mention it. They sold it. You have to buy the cotton insert. Of course, I can't imagine being in it without it. But do you use a cotton insert on yours?
I use my yoga towels.
Well, see, there you go. You use something. That's what
Yeah,
I mean. I can't imagine
yeah.
being
Oh,
in it
no.
without
I
something.
think
You
it
have
would
to have something.
I think it would not be good for your body depending on how I put mine up as hot as it will go. So I
Well,
need
me
a
too.
layer to
I
lay
guess my
on.
point is, why don't they come with it, right? Yours didn't come with one either, with a something.
No, it would have I think that that would be a really good design though.
See, like
Maybe
my
that
company sold a separate insert.
it
So I
would
just
be
wonder if you know that people gonna get burned, why don't it come
yeah,
with
I
it?
mean, mine can see, this is where I'm not a fan of this because it did come with like 2 or 3 just, non-reusable ones that are just like Mylar blankets,
Oh, well,
and
no, 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 no,
I'm
no.
like,
I
"No, no, no, no."
purchased a proper,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
$80 high
yep,
end. Like, I mean, just, I shouldn't say just whatever, but it makes me wonder and see. I guess anybody would have something, but why didn't it just come with it? They could have charged $80 or more. I wouldn't have known it, but it would have come
yeah.
with the thing.
I think it
But
would be cool if it just zipped in and out, and then I could throw it in the washer.
well, yeah, because does your bag zip around the perimeter and you kind of like it? Oh, Danny, I did it. And how long do you stay in it? I try to stay in it says 60 minutes. You can't do more than 60 minutes.
I've stayed in it up to 90 minutes.
Mine
Um,
doesn't go that far.
Mine
Mine only
doesn't
lets.
either, but I'll turn it right back
Oh,
on, and we're
okay.
gonna go right back.
Okay.
We're gonna stay
Okay,
in
I can
this.
say I can do that back to back.
Yeah, because what I found is, like, I'm just starting I just did my sauna bag yesterday, so I I love it so much. I carry so much tension in my body, in my neck and jaw, and that is a part of, the autistic experience, is, like, carrying, and it's part of the human experience that's dealing with stress. So for me, I lay in it and it's almost like I feel the puzzle start to unlock. Like, this muscle in my hip flexor will release, and then it causes a chain reaction, and all of a sudden there's a part of my jaw that's relaxed. And this happens for an hour, like, as I'm sitting there. And so at an hour, I'm finally relaxed. And it's like I realized I needed that extra half an hour for the additional release. I've never
Exactly.
felt my tongue release as much as it has. Like, I get a lot of tension in the base here. It completely relaxed yesterday, and I was like, "Oh,
See, I'm feeling all of this. I don't know if it's my grief, but I'm feeling everything you just said. And I wake up in my sauna. I'm asleep. So
yeah,
has that happened? Well, did you
yeah."
just get yours? How often?
I've had it for a couple years, so I've been doing it regularly for a couple years now. I don't do it in the
Oh,
summer because it is too hot, and I
that
can't.
probably doesn't make sense in the summer. It probably
No.
doesn't make sense in the summer because I say I just broke mine open in January. It's been sitting there. Thank God it's well, good quality, well made. It was in that box forever.
Hmm.
Take it out, it looks brand new. I love mine so much. Okay, when I'm not home in Washington, D.C. with my family where I'm born and raised, I'm in Sweden with my husband. So I called the people. I said, "Does this thing work in?" Because I asked my husband, "What's the voltage?" He told me, "You're still in denial. You're reading it. You're like, okay, okay." They said, "Just get a converter, and I could use it in Sweden." So I'm like, "Okay, okay." So I look converters what I needed because you had to step up. It took me about an hour. Okay, I don't know why I'm talking about this now, but that's because I'm obsessed with the sauna bag. So I just want to sing its praises. I'm not saying the brand because I already talked
The
bad that you
only
have to buy the insert separate. So I
Yeah, the
feel
only reason
bad.
I said the brand is because it's cost effective, and I want people to
No, no,
realize
no.
you
I
don't have to
want you to
spend.
say your brand. No, that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying. I don't want to say my brand because I don't want to out cross your brand. And I don't know if you have some brand deal. I hope you do.
no, I
People,
don't.
Danny deserves a brand deal. She deserves a brand deal. She doesn't. Okay, let's say the name of this company again. Let's get you a brand deal. But what's the name of the company?
It's called Life Pro. Yeah.
Life Pro. What else do they have other than the sauna
Ooh,
bag? Do they have the rebounder?
they do have, or no, they don't have the rebounder, but they do have the vibrating plate. And I do have one other product of theirs, which is the LED face mask.
Oh my God, I got one of those too. But wait a minute,
Yeah,
let's talk about that for a second because all of this is mindfulness and self care. People, you need it.
absolutely.
But go back to the vibrator. Do you have one?
I don't have the vibrating plate. Because I got the rebounder. So it's like one of those things. And I do want to say I have all of these tools. I'm high risk for long or for serious COVID. So I don't teach in public. I don't take classes in public. I can't really go into a sauna. I can't go and just get a massage. I can't go just get a facial. So I purchased these tools to help myself at home still have those sort of practices.
Well, my
And
story too. I spent a lot of time caregiving. I did. So when I'm here away from my home in Sweden, I come in the house. I don't leave the house unless I have a dentist appointment, a doctor's appointment. I have always taught 100% online. I call it my COVID blessing because that's
yeah,
when I came into it, right? I don't know. I've done a couple of things in person. These tools, I don't know about you, but I don't consider them luxuries.
no,
Once I've come to that point, yeah, in my life and realized that my wellness is non-negotiable, right?
yeah, yeah,
I was dealing with my dad's passing. Well, I mean, I was bald, completely here, literally pulling my hair out, and seeing, telling myself I'm pulling my hair out and couldn't stop. Horrible rash, wasn't sleeping. The whole classic stuff, right? Blood pressure so high they don't want you to leave the doctor's office. So having a regular yoga practice was non-negotiable once I realized that. And then everything else, the journaling, the walking, the breathing.
the sauna bag, the face mask, like all of those. Yeah.
So the sauna bag, like I say, I bought it. I can't remember if I got it on sale. Now can't be without it. Gonna take it with me everywhere I go. Comes with a nice
Yep.
carrying bag.
Hmm.
Tell me about your face mask. This thing now, this only has a 15-minute limit, mine. Do you do longer? Tell me how you use yours
Mine
and
allows
why.
30 minutes. And so you really shouldn't use it for more than 30 minutes a day. Um, part of my experience has been living with a lot of hormonal acne. I thought as an adult, I wouldn't have to deal with that. But guess what? I did. And so do a lot of people. And so this mask actually has helped me immensely with that. And it also it helps me relax when I put it on. I can't do anything else really. I can't wear my glasses. So I can't be looking around. I have to really just sit there and I combine it with a meditation. So I'll be doing a body scan or a white light meditation and just allowing it to work. It has helped the relaxation helps a lot with my jaw pain. Period.
Have you ever combined it with the sauna bag? I've done that before.
Yes, I have.
And then you have the meditation, you're layering, and then you got the meditation. What else?
And then I'll
Incense,
usually
aromatherapy,
yeah, I was about to say and then I have the aromatherapy going too. Yeah. Yeah. And that
layer.
you can layer whatever practices you want however you want. There's no rules there. That's what I love about developing a self-care practice. It's like it's yours. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's. It doesn't have to follow any arbitrary rule that doesn't apply to you at all. It can 100% be as long as you want it. It can be as short as you want it. I personally believe of having like different layers. So one of my really, really good friends, she shared with me good, better, best. So I have a good one, I have a better one, and I have the best one.
I
And
love that.
based on
Now, a
how I
best
feel. Hmm.
morning routine can be up to an hour or more, do you think? Like, because for
Yeah,
me, it would include a yoga practice.
absolutely.
What,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Before
Well, that's usually
I,
what happens after rebounding is a little stretching. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, if if time was not a limit, I think I could probably extend my morning routine to about 2 to 3 hours.
well, see, that's my goal. So, right, my life to, you've already done a career shift from HR to yoga. Is what I'm afraid of. I've done a career shift from modeling industry, agency director, music industry, marketing and PR to working for myself doing communications to yoga finally. And then I think my husband's like, oh, you look even better. We've been together 20 years. His second marriage, my third and final, right? Thanks to him, I've got 5 grandkids through to his 2 adult kids. You look better than we even met before. Your body's even better, and this is good. And yoga feels good. Like you feel like I could do this forever. Are we gonna ever retire? Like when are we gonna stop? Because like you said, my morning routine could be 3 hours. I want my day to be my morning routine, right? I want my whole life to be. But
Yeah,
couldn't
that
I? That's why we're yoga. I could still be like, am I making sense? Like this is a business for you. It's a
mhm.
business for me. When is it? Is, are there blurred lines or
Think that there are some blurred lines, but not at least for me, I'm working really diligently on my boundaries so that I do know what my life is and that my business is separate from it. But so much of what my business is my life. And so I don't think that that's ever going to change, but I could see my business changing. I can see, at some point pulling back. Even though I've pulled back so much already, I could see myself pulling back a little more and maybe just having one thing out there. Maybe, but I don't know. As I say that, that kind of I
it
feel a
didn't
lot
feel
of
right, did it?
panic. I feel panic.
I can see on your face it didn't feel right. The reason I asked because 9 years in the business, and the first few years you're figuring out how it's going to work, what you're going to do. You evolve your offerings and things, and you get your people. I'll be in my second year because I have time to do business taxes almost. I think they said March for at least with DC. I'm like, let me do them now, or at least start. And I'm like, this will be my first year, no, second year filing. And I think I love teaching yoga. I love my yoga. How did you build out your business? But you can't teach yoga all the time. I've got different office. I get the most joy when I work one on one with someone.
100%.
Okay, good, better, best, right? So
Yeah.
best is working one on one,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I love
Better,
working one on
don't
one with
you?
people. Yeah.
Yeah. The what is it? It's being part of the transformation, the intimacy, the what do you
You know,
love?
I from the beginning, one-on-ones was where I wanted to be, and I know that that's not necessarily how a lot of people feel. I just always felt that personal connection. That's why I teach yoga. That's why I teach it, is for that personal connection. And it is watching the transformation. It is being such a close witness to the evolution. intoxicating in a way where you when you see someone else do this, you're like, "Oh, I can do anything." So I feel kind
I
of
was gonna
selfish
say,
in saying that,
well, I was
but
gonna say with that, not to give, and that's the same thing I have with my ego because I'm like, it's so affirming. I did this, or I was part of
yeah.
this, or what I thought, because I know if you're like me, you curate what you're doing, you craft what you're going to do for that person from beginning to end, and you live off of that feedback from the very first, was this okay? And tweaking it. And when you hitting it, so you're just like, so I want to make sure my ego isn't in it because so far I haven't gotten the feedback that people are like, that didn't work, or no, or I hated that, or,
I
you know,
have.
I, well,
I have
I've
gotten
gotten
that
it from,
feedback before, and
tell me how you deal with it. I've gotten it from group when people could
yeah.
then put it up, but I'm not like face to face where client had to tell me that. How did that go?
That's when you really get to see where your ego sits, is when you do have that information, and it's not it's not a failure, it's a communication. It's somebody telling you, responding to what you shared. And not everybody's gonna like everything that you teach. You're not everybody's teacher. But then in that, you could definitely be someone's teacher and they could not like something that you teach. It's just not personal. And that's
And
part
that's
of
so
being,
yoga, right?
yeah, that's part of the
That's core.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's part of being the teacher, is like being able to receive feedback and not dissolve, and know that it does not mean you're worth any less or you're worth any more.
Yeah. First time I read, yeah, one of the I've been lucky, with the, because first of all, I always think, wow, people take the time to write feedback or whatever. And I never had anything harsh, but I know I had somebody say she talks too much. And first I remember thinking, oh, my feelings were a little hurt, and then I laughed, and I was like, yeah, I probably do. You know what I mean? Like you go through
Right.
all you go through all that. I was like, but that was the only person that said that. And then I thought, well, maybe that day you were particularly chatty, but just keep that and take that with you for every time and use it. And it's been helpful to me. So I haven't had anything that I don't know how could somebody be cruel to a yoga teacher? Like, what's the worst thing somebody could say? But I've always been sensitive to feedback. I need to see this feedback and not criticism in general, right? I've always, even as a child, been sensitive to that.
And I think it's important to understand too that people can provide feedback and you don't have to take it. And you probably shouldn't be taking feedback from somebody that doesn't respect you or that you don't respect.
Thanks for that very timely uh, point of information. You can be given feedback, but doesn't mean you have to receive it. Consider the source, right? I'm
Yeah.
paraphrasing you, but please say that again.
Yeah, consider where that feedback is coming from, and do they respect you? Are they empathetic? Do they understand where you're coming from? And if the answer is no, then that's not feedback, that's criticism. This was a lesson that I learned probably about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, when I moved up here and I started to try to teach at a studio that I really wasn't aligned with, and it was it didn't feel good. I would get a lot of feedback of like, "Oh, your class is too slow," or "This isn't the style that the students want," even though the students didn't say that. Um, all of this feedback, and it really deflated me, and it took me a few years to realize that why? I gave them that power because if they just randomly came up to
Yeah.
me in the street and gave me this information, I'd be like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, you didn't have to accept it. So that's it.
Yeah.
That's don't give authority where it's not
Yeah.
deserved, right?
Yeah. And that
So,
goes for
okay,
everything, please, even if you're not a yoga teacher.
just across the board in all your relationships and interactions. Yes. Now, it's okay. Now, tell me this, constructive criticism, is that a myth?
Um,
Would we
That's a
rather be
really good question because I'm
uh,
thinking back to my HR days too
mm,
and to this now. I I don't like that term. I don't like the term constructive criticism because criticism isn't ever going to be a positive experience or, bring about change or bring about growth. Um, if your criticism gives options of how to move forward, but then that becomes feedback, right?
I was
So
gonna
I
say,
don't
so we need to aim for feedback, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Because feedback, as you say, has two components, right?
it has
Here's
mhm. Here's what's happening, and
yeah.
here's how you could potentially change it. That's the difference between criticism and feedback.
And what we want to do as yoga teachers, yogis, practitioners of yoga off the mat is that when we do give feedback, that we make sure we're doing it with compassion.
And also, did they ask for it? Because if you're just
So
providing feedback, that
that's not
without
helpful.
yeah, I think that that then turns to criticism. Unsolicited feedback is just criticism.
Oh, I love that. You're like, first of all, so you're like, okay, yeah, make it compassionate, but first of all, make sure they ask for it.
And I've done
So let's
this. So that's why I
mm,
say this, and I've had it done to me.
well, I'm a kind of version of that because I've had friends say, the best thing about you is also the worst thing about you. When you know somebody has a problem or you see a problem, you want to fix it. And I'm like, I do. So that can be the best thing or the worst thing about you. So I just need to wait till somebody asks, can you help me fix this? And then boom, I'm ready to leap into action.
Oh man, I feel like I'm still kind of learning that, especially in my closer, intimate relationships where it's like, oh, here's a resource, here's a tool. And it's like they didn't ask for it. They didn't ask for
Yeah, I'm queen
it.
of that. I'm
Yeah.
queen of that. So one more thing about your HR days. How does that help you with how did you see? Okay, so I don't know what I have for HR. I guess I feel sorry for whatever's happening. Um, because I'm in Washington, D.C. in the federal government. Are people moving through HR? How did you handle HR in times of, I don't want to say crisis or massive change? And did you bring that to your yoga? And can you leave us with this? Like, how can we deal with massive change? Because I'm dealing with massive change losing my mom. Like I say, that puts me officially in the adult orphan category. I didn't ask for it. Nobody asked me about it. I would have negotiated a different time frame. I felt like I was forced into this. You know what I mean? So for people that are facing situations, whether it's grief or upheaval in your life, that you didn't ask for, that you didn't necessarily see coming, you think,
Oh,
what do you have for us?
what do I have for you there?
I mean,
I
if you didn't have a morning routine, get one. I know, but
yes.
because structure helps me. My mat, I'm on it constantly. My gratitude journal practice is over 2,000 days old. Consistency and structure. But if you're starting from scratch right now,
I will give the same advice I give to probably every single student in person that has come into my life within the last few years, and that's you have to tap into the deepest well of self-compassion that you never knew existed. And so how do you do that? You just have to find it. And you're going to keep finding it in different ways of showing up for yourself, showing up for yourself and giving you what you need that day, meeting yourself where you are that day. Is it a really hard day? So you're going to do the bare minimum. You are going to get out of bed and you're going to brush your teeth and you're going to wash your face. And if your yoga practice is just laying on your mat that day, guess what? You practiced yoga and you did really good things for your body. I think, I know we're kind of tiptoeing around the state of the world right now. We're tiptoeing around it. And it's not I don't think it is something to tiptoe. I think we have to hit it head on and we have to accept, or not accept, we have to acknowledge that things are not where we want them to be. Then we have to examine what can we do to help ourselves. That's that compassion. That's that how that's the fuel for us is self-compassion. And then from there, how can you maybe do one act of kindness to another person? That's it. I say my whole goal in life, my whole goal of my business, my only job is to help at least one person. And if only one person downloads that class or downloads that workbook or hears my lecture, then that is enough. And even if no one showed up live, that's fine. It's all about just helping one other person shift. And so I think if we can take care of ourselves as best as we can and approach ourselves with the most compassion, it can't not bleed in to the rest of our lives.
Yeah, I had to take my glasses off and put them back on for that one. Just one person, if we could just help one person. Will you
Just
help me
one.
today?
Oh, same. I
Know
feel
that.
my heart and soul is really renewed. I am just so
Yeah,
grateful to be here with you.
me too. And I have to warn you, now we're connected, so oh, you're going to be a big part of my 2025, whether it's your resources, that daily email I get from you. I shouldn't say daily, the weekly email. I don't want people think you're putting out stuff daily. That's too much. But
Eh,
weekly.
if I had a team, I think I would.
Yeah, I need a team too, but your
Yeah.
social media. So I should say weekly newsletter, but your social media robust. I'm going to have the links to your social
Yeah.
media and your website, of course. Is there anything in particular that you working on? Because you curate and offer so many wonderful things. Is there anything I can't remember? I think you may have mentioned something you're working on, or maybe not. I may have imagined that. But is there anything that you're working on or just out of that we can anticipate this year from you? We
Oh,
should be
thank
looking
you.
for.
Yeah, I've got a few things that I'm really excited about. I'm going, like I said, I'm going to be launching this library that is going to house my ebooks and workshops and seminars and retreats that I've recorded over the last few years. And I'm really, really excited about that. I'm going to be also launching a mudra meditation series. And so this is something I offer to my private clients and I get incredible feedback on the mudra meditation. So I was like, okay, let's bring them out into a larger audience. And so that's going to be um, a series of about 8 weeks. And I
Okay,
think one
now
of the,
Danny, tell people what mudra, because when I think of mudra,
yeah,
what is the name of this one? Is it Lotus? Oh,
that's Lotus. Yeah,
my
yeah. So
favorite. And when I'm
it's
doing tree, I
mm,
like, yeah.
oh yeah, that's a great
Don't you love it? Like a crown up
mhm.
there? Okay.
Yeah, there's so many incredible mudras. I'll leave you with one is Suraya mudra of holding down your ring finger and placing your thumb on the outside. This is a really great mudra for anxiety. So if you're feeling anxious, just take a few breaths, hold this mudra. I will literally walk through the grocery store holding this sometimes. So it's a really, really powerful like, practice that's super simple. So the meditations that I offer a mudra and then a guided meditation while you hold the mudra that helps you tap into the qualities and whatever you're hoping to get out of that practice. So I'm very excited about that. But I think what you're alluding to is a collaboration that I've been working on called the Wild Wisdom Alliance. And this is something that is oh man, I'm so excited for it. It's something that I've been working on for months with my dear friend Jeanette and another yoga teacher and mindfulness teacher. She's in the UK. And so we're going to be creating this community, this container for other teachers who want to explore past their, whatever they've learned in the West. We're going to go back to yoga's roots. And we're also going to have a book club associated with this. That's going to be the main vehicle. And so, yeah, if you're looking for a community of like-minded people that are just wanting to learn more and expand in the universe, this is going to be a place for you.
When do you think that's going to start?
I'm hoping we're planning sometime around April or May, but it may be as late as June. We're being very mindful with how we create this because we can recognize that the power that is here in this container. So we're just really wanting to make sure that we have all of the processes thought out. We want to make sure that when somebody comes in, that whole process has been completely thought through.
Well, April definitely is going to be here before you know it. We're already in
I
February.
know. In
So,
April, it's my teacherversary in April. I'm super excited. Join my community, please, because in April, regardless of if the Wild Wisdom Alliance launches later in the year, I will be giving away some incredible resources. I am also going to do a giveaway for a one of my favorite yoga mats. I've got a few of them. And so, yeah, I'm going to be sharing some of my tools and tips and tricks and favorite things. And I would love for everybody to be a part of that.
oh, April, spring, renewal,
Mhm.
my husband's birthday month.
Yay.
Okay, we're going to celebrate with you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to end this with, did I give you gratitude? But we're going to end with a little gratitude practice. Oh, universe, thank you for leading me to Dani Frank when I needed her and for her coming when I needed her again. Thank you, universe. That's my gratitude practice. I'm thankful for
Mm,
you today. Out of all the things that happened today, and I've had a good day so far. It's 119 for me. It's only 10 for you. This is your morning. I've had a
yeah.
good, pretty, so it can't get better for me. I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead now, I think.
Yeah. This
Because
has
this has
set the
been a great
tone for
day.
it set the tone for my entire day. And the sun is shining here too. So
And I'm looking at
watch
your
out, world.
greenery. Yeah, you've got plants behind you. You're in a lovely space with the light. Thank you for being the light that
Oh,
I
thank you.
needed in the darkness of grief. Thank you for continuing to be light in the world. I'm excited for what's happening. I'm going to celebrate your birthday with you.
Thank you.
And yeah, we'll just talk again soon.
I can't wait. Yeah, you know where I'll be.
yeah, I know where you'll be, and I'll be there with you celebrating. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much for this space and this opportunity. Mm.
You're welcome. Not and go have a proper cry. I'm gonna stop the recording. Yeah, bye. I'm gonna stop the recording.